The world of boxing is abuzz with anticipation as two ferocious fighters prepare to enter the ring. The charismatic YouTube sensation turned boxer Jake Paul and the former UFC champion with a formidable record, Nate Diaz. As these two titans of combat prepare to clash, the question on everyone's mind is, who will emerge victorious in this battle? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the fighters and examine their strengths and weaknesses to determine who has the upper hand in this electrifying bout. In the world of boxing, size matters. And when it comes to the upcoming fight between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz, it might just be a deciding factor. While Diaz is certainly no slouch in the ring, with Andre Ward himself praising his boxing skills, he'll be at a major disadvantage against the larger and more muscular Jake Paul. Although the two fighters are nearly identical in height and reach, the difference in weight is staggering. As a former lightweight, Diaz is used to fighting opponents who are much smaller than him. But against Jake Paul, who fights at cruiserweight, Diaz will be facing a significant size and weight disadvantage. Diaz isn't a Deontay Wilder. He's more known for his endurance and durability. Against a much larger foe, his punching power is unlikely to register significant results. Of course, that's not to say that Jake Paul is unbeatable. Diaz may be able to use his superior boxing skills and footwork to outmaneuver his opponent and deliver a series of punishing blows. But with Paul's size and strength advantage, it's likely that he'll be able to weather the storm and come out on top. Another weakness of Diaz that Jake can exploit is his slow striking. When it comes to boxing, speed is often the key to victory, and unfortunately for Nate Diaz, he may be lacking in this department. As he's gotten older, Diaz has become a slower striker, which could be a major weakness when he faces off against Jake Paul. Despite being a smaller fighter, Diaz has never been known for his lightning-fast speed, and as he's aged, his movements in the ring have become more sluggish. This lack of speed could be a major disadvantage for him when he goes up against the larger and more muscular Jake Paul. Neither his punches nor his footwork exhibits any kind of speed that would enable him to outwork his foe. This means that Paul will likely be able to match Diaz's speed in the ring, making it difficult for the former UFC star to land any significant blows. What's more, Diaz's lack of speed also makes him a more hittable target for his opponent. With his diminished mobility, he may find it difficult to dodge and weave his way out of trouble when Paul comes at him with a flurry of punches. Of course, Diaz may still be able to use his superior strategy to outsmart Paul in the ring. But with this speed disadvantage, it will be an uphill battle for the former UFC star. Another thing to consider is that Diaz may not be able to fight from a distance as he's accustomed to. When it comes to fighting from a distance, Nate Diaz is a master. His height and reach give him a significant advantage over shorter opponents. By leaning away from their punches and rolling after the lean, he can take a sting out of their strikes and expose them to his counters. However, this strategy won't work against Jake Paul. Despite being only an inch taller than Diaz, the YouTube star has an identical reach. This will nullify Diaz's usual length advantage, making him a more hittable target. Nate Diaz's experience in the fighting world could give him an edge. He's been training in mixed martial arts since he was just 11 years old, and has won Season 5 of The Ultimate Fighter. Diaz has taken down some of the best names in the UFC, including Conor McGregor. In contrast, Jake Paul has fought mostly non-boxers in his professional fights. However, Paul's power and accuracy cannot be ignored. If he can implement his game plan correctly and use his speed and strength to keep Diaz at bay, he could land significant strikes and potentially come out victorious. On the other hand, if Diaz can weather the storm and drag the fight into the later rounds, his experience and durability could give him the edge over his opponent. Ultimately, it all comes down to who can execute their strategy better on fight night. If there's one thing that the Diaz brothers are known for, it's their relentless pace and unlimited cardio. They just do not get tired. Another thing they're known for is their durability. Paul can certainly land shots on Diaz early on. He will more than likely open a cut on Diaz and make him bleed, given Diaz's excess scar tissue in his eyebrows. But if he's unable to finish or hurt Diaz and blows his gas tank early in the process, that's a recipe for disaster, as Diaz will continue marching forward, throw volume at him, and trash talk while doing it. Just ask Conor McGregor. Sure, Diaz has slowed down in his recent UFC fights, and that's only natural with his age and longevity in combat sports. but a big factor in many of those fights was Diaz being compromised with leg kicks. He's never really been one to check them, and in his last 2 fights alone, he received 34 and 23 leg kicks respectively. He won't have to worry about that or getting taken down in his bout against Jake Paul. He can just strike and clinch with Paul for the duration of the 8-round contest. This fight is a must-win for Jake Paul. Love him or hate him, Jake Paul has become a force to be reckoned with in the boxing world. His fights have garnered mainstream attention, and his questionable pay-per-view sales have done little to slow him down. However, after suffering a defeat to Tommy Fury in his last fight, Paul cannot afford another loss if he hopes to maintain the momentum of his career. While Paul was able to drop Fury in their bout, he was ultimately outclassed and outboxed. It's clear that he still has a lot to learn in the world of boxing, and another loss could be devastating to his image and career aspirations. Perhaps it would have been better for Paul to take on an easier opponent for his next fight rather than going up against a seasoned veteran like Nate Diaz. Even the best boxers have tuned up fights every now and then, and Paul could have certainly benefited from an easy layup before taking on a fighter of Diaz's caliber. A second consecutive loss would undoubtedly result in a significant drop in interest and hype around his career. However, I believe he'll bounce back and reclaim his spot as a rising star in the world of boxing, and that'll start with this fight against Diaz. Someone might be wondering how I can say that Jake will beat Diaz. The fact is that Nate Diaz is 37 years old. Next year, Stockton's finest will be only 2 years away from his 40th birthday. His age became apparent in his final MMA bouts, and the UFC legend has not been in a winning streak since 2016. Meanwhile, Jake Paul is in the prime of his youth at 25. He's younger and more athletic than his potential foe. As is the case with younger fighters, the problem child will only improve as time marches onwards. Younger fighters are sponges in the gym, learning and improving at a fast pace. However, the reverse is true for older fighters. The more a fighter ages, the less able they become to change their habits and learn new tricks. Furthermore, the cumulative damage that Stockton's finest has endured throughout his career is bound to catch up with them. The same cannot be said for Jake Paul. Now, over to you. Who do you think will win the boxing fight between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz? Let us know in the comment section below. That'll be all for today's video, and thanks for staying tuned. If you want to influence who we pit against one another in the upcoming video, comment down below and we'll pick the comment with the most likes. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more amazing videos like this. See you in the next one. Peace.